Okay, so I'll show you how the radiator in the boot's looking. Fits quite nice and snug. I'm just going to put some M8 or M6 bolts and rib nuts in the back lip here, and then also pick up on the floor down there. Got to make a Fandango bracket for the old charge cooler pump. That tube tank thing that Carlo's going to make is going to go in this corner here, and then I've got all my swirl pot, fuel pumps and filters that I need to try and squeeze back in around this area here. Just been finishing off swaging all the holes in the side of the car. I did them years ago with a hole saw, but they were never sort of dimpled, so just using one of these tools at the moment and just running around bolting it up and just putting a bit of a flare on it. Annoyingly, it's cracking all the paint, but the paint in here isn't the best, so at some point one day it will be repainted, but that's for another day. I've offered up the axle. That's all been powder coated now. Just waiting on the link bars to come through, the new Gaz coilovers from Outlaw Motorsport, and then my little welded on plates. I'm just going to clean up and rebuild all the hubs with the bearings and the brake calipers and what have you, and then I've got my new springs to go back in. These are my new RSR Cobra low backs. I figured I'd get rid of the Kirkies because I don't know, I just fancy a bit of a change. These look a bit more retro. I want to go for a bit more sort of 1980s-esque cafe racer style thing, so yeah, these should be quite interesting. The only thing that's really annoying is that the harness hole's smaller than my lap belts, so I'm going to have to get rid of my old harnesses that I have and try and get some slightly narrower ones, but it's not the end of the world. Something to do, isn't it? So that's the holes swaged in the door. Just adds a little bit more strength into sort of flat sheet metal once you've cut big holes in it. And it also looks proper race car. As I said, it's just annoying that the paint started to flake around where I've sort of pressed through, but I'll worry about that at a later date. So I've just mocked up my crazy pedal box contraption. So you've got the steering column shroud thing here, and then my throttle pedal bracket, which now has the bit that Carlo machined into it. I've still got to tidy up and weld the 3mm plate onto the bulkhead, and then I also started mocking up this crazy bracket that's going to go pick up on the 4 bolts on top of the actual pedal box up here. So you've got these 4 pre-threaded holes in here, and then I'm going to do like a fancy pants crazy bracket that's going to slip in here, bolt onto the top of the wheelwood box. I'll put a riv nut pick up onto the underside here, and then I also want to try and pick up on these 2 studs which tie this panel or this bracket onto the steering column, just so then everything is all triangulated and tied in, because I don't want there to be much flex on the pedal box when you're jumping on the brakes. So from this, I've then drawn up the cutting program, and then created this. So that all slips in there. I need to cut these tabs off just to get a bit more clearance into it. Once I'm happy with how this is all looking, then I'll finish off welding it up and powder coat it along with the throttle pedal bracket. The next thing on the list of things to do is dealing with this crazy bag of bastards, pile of crap wiring, so I need to probably rip most of it out and start again, try and simplify it. I mean, considering the car doesn't even have a stereo, let alone much else, I don't really know how it's got this complicated, but yeah, it's been one of those things that I've tucked up underneath the dashboard and it's out of sight, out of mind, but the more I look at it like this, the more I think something needs to be done, so that's the next challenge. Have I ever shown you my crazy little window winders? Because of the way the door bar sits, I could never put down my windows or put them up again, so I decided to cut the original winder handles, shorten them, re-weld them, so now I can wind up my windows with the door shut. Race car problems. Okay, for the charge cooler tank, I've gone and got this 3-foot massive bit of alley, and I'm going to give it to Carlo. I've machined this piece of MDF which kind of it's got a little taper on it and it's punched into the end, and I've got a centre hole in there. And my theory or concept is that if he grips that on the chuck of his lathe, puts the centering tool on that, he can spin it up, and I'm going to get him to turn it down to take some of the thickness out of it. So I go down to like 2.5 or 3 mil. But I also wanted to put some little rib details in here, sort of 3, and then I'll cut the cap for the. I've got a off-the-shelf screw cap, and then I'll make a base up with some mounting points to pick up on the boot floor, and then that'll be my ice box / charge cooler header tank that I'll then run into the radiators in the boot of the car. Zach's just making some crazy external wastegate out the bonnet, and he's doing a big out the bonnet dump pipe for matey for his Mark III Fiesta. And another tubular manifold Zach's making, all of the tapered out runners going into homemade collectors. Yeah, man. So, got new discs, pads and bearings to rebuild the Focus rear hubs. Just going to break it all down, wire brush it all up, give it a lick of paint. That's all wire brushed. Now I'm just going to go over it with a bit of cure rust to stop it from bubbling up again. Right, so previously I had actually made up, started making up a side exit again for the car, and I obviously take a lot of inspiration from 80s race cars and what have you, so I quite like the look of the side exits you get on the RS500 Cosworths, and they're kind of like a letterbox with slats in it, oval ends, kind of similar to the NASCAR sort of boom tubes that you get. So I did start making this thing, but this was kind of before I learnt about putting too much heat into stainless steel, so it's a little bit wibbly wobbly. And the plan was to put this onto a 2.5-inch pipe, sort of funnel it on. Obviously this is a bigger surface area than a 2.5-inch pipe, so it won't be a restriction. But where I now want to mount the side exit, I need it a lot longer, so I've cut these bits on the laser, and then you've got located fins to go on the inside, and then I've got this tube which I'm just going to cut down and then cut in half the same way that I've done this, and then just TIG weld that onto the ends to give my long, flat, boom tube style exhaust pipe. A really quick way to mark up a tube to cut it down the middle is I've just found the point where the tube's all been welded up, and then I've placed it in a V, and I've just drawn a straight line all the way down to give me one side. Then I'm going to be using a centre finder to mark up the other side, and then I'll flip it around and I'll mark up in the same manner as I did the other way. So that gives me a tube with 2 lines down either side, and I can just slip wheel them open, and that gives me 2 half-round lengths of tube for either side of the exhaust pipe. 2 end pieces. So that's how the boom tube side exit is shaping up. I've just kind of tacked the bottom of the runners in, and then obviously just tape the sides on just to see that it all kind of fits together. It's going to need a little bit of pulling around, but yeah, that looks pretty sick. I'm pretty pleased with that. That's going to be jokes. Spitting flames out the driver's door underneath, and then I've also just quickly welded up my screamer pipe that is going to go. I was going to have it out the bonnet, but I've now rerouted it so I can have it pointing down on the floor, just because I don't want to buff a big hole in the bonnet. So another thing I've been working on is the downpipe. I did have a 2.5 inch downpipe, but Zach said now's the time. If you're going to do it now. Make it all out of 3 inch. So I've gone and bought some really tight 3 inch pipe. You see the difference in size. Got the flange cut for the outlet of the turbo, and then I've just been chopping up angles and stuff so that I can start welding on and making my really crazy downpipe that's going to go down the front of the engine. So it's going to go over the gearbox, back on itself, and then down the front, because I've got the 6-speed gearbox. It's got all the linkage in the way. This is the only way I can really route the exhaust pipe. And then obviously that's going to go under the engine. I'm going to have a little stubby silencer, and then it's going to do a 90. Got to make a crazy funnel, sort of flared setup on this. So it goes from 3 inch into that, sort of taper it down so it goes into that flat letterbox exhaust. Screw it up. Pop, 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 pop. Big flames, can't wait. I've also got my anti-roll bar here, and I'm just giving it a quick buzz back, getting all the surface rust off it and the old paint. I'm just going to give this a quick lick of paint alongside. I've made some little funky handles, hang on. And these are just little homemade door handles. I only need 2, but for some reason I made 4. They've got the fret cut FPE logo, backed up with a bit of 2.5mm alley, folded up, a couple of nice little fixings. I'm also going to do some new Framex black door cards, might engrave the logo in it and see how we get on. See what they look like when they're painted all one colour. Can't find any mixing cups, so I'm going to have to make do with one of these paper cups. Before I finish it, welding it all up, I am a nightmare for this. I couldn't help bring it home and just offer it up and see how it's going to look on the side of the car. So here we go. Check it out. I think that's a strong look. Pretty happy with that. I reckon I can get it to tuck up a bit closer if I cut the bottom lip off the sill. Just re-weld that up. It's going to make a racket. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Make sure you leave comments and stuff in the bit below. Hit like and subscribe and all that crap. Check out the Cartel site. I put a link in the bio below for all the Zoo Speed merchandise. Soon to hopefully have some FPE stuff up on there as well. Also check out the latest Classic Ford magazine, as I'll be doing write-ups on the Fiesta and the Sierra. Hopefully have that back out to play soon as well. Until next time, I'll catch up with you guys later. Take it easy.